can tell I moved like 20 times in my life.
Oh, yeah, and you've got the chips place so that everyone can see them.
Oh, nice.
Like what they're missing.
Yeah, it's gonna come in person.
Can't resist.
Are we live?
We are live.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to our meeting of the Flagstaff Library Board. And I will have Amelia start by calling roll.
Frank Garcia.
Is here.
Lindsay Gamey. Lisa, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry.
That's okay. It's a nice name.
Supervisor Begay.
Yes, I'm here.
Councilmember Garcia.
Hi guys, good to see you again. I am here.
Pamela Buzzard. Shannon Greenwood.
Here.
Catherine Moore.
Here.
And Katie Quick.
All right, thank you. And the next item on our agenda is public participation. I don't see any members of the public that want to present, so we are good there. And let's move on to the approval of minutes, which was down in your packet a little bit further. So once everybody's had a minute to look those over, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
I move that we approve the minutes from the June meeting.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
I will second.
Thank you. So we have a motion and a second to approve the minutes. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Good. Ayes carry. Except for extra vote
It's almost
doesn't- extra vote
Friday.
doesn't hurt.
It's almost Friday.
All right, and then our next category is information, communications, and disclosures. And we have an item under there called What Dan Read.
I couldn't get that link to work.
Oh,
Did anybody else try it?
Yeah, I got it to work.
Did you?
I'd already seen it when it was televised, but it's a fun story about this man who checked out, I mean, how many hundreds or thousands of books from his public
3,000 or
library over his
6,000.
lifetime.
I don't remember.
And
he wrote them all down in a book, several. His son, I believe, found it after he passed.
Oh, I've heard that story.
And they made this list. of
Yeah.
What Dan read, and then
Wow.
libraries are featuring it, they're putting up displays on different books that
Yeah,
he's
I've heard that story.
it's a
Yeah.
super fun story.
Yeah.
It's a super fun story.
Anecdotally, it just made me feel worse about the pile of books I have next to my bed. Just saying. All right. The next thing are the reports and discussion items, and we will put Dr. Heiser on. Oh, is he there?
He joined us.
Oh, hello, Dr. Heiser.
Oh, that's not good. That's probably the best view I've had there for, let's see. How about that?
There you go.
Not sure where that view was coming from. Can you all hear me?
We can.
Okay, great.
And so we are ready for your presentation on the East Side Library.
Yeah, so just wanted to give a quick update as to where things stand, and then most importantly, answer any questions that I could from you all. We are about 3 weeks away from ballots hitting mailboxes, maybe a little bit less, maybe 2.5 weeks away. Excuse me, ballots will start getting mailed, I believe, right around October 9th or 10th. And of course, this is both a polling place and a mail-in ballot. So folks every registered voter as of October 6th will receive a ballot in the mail. Of course, they don't have to vote that way. They could vote at a polling place, of which CCC Lone Tree is one of those locations. There are many spread throughout the county. So those will start hitting mailboxes around that time. Before then, probably within the next week, will be what's called the Voter Information Pamphlet, or VIP. That pamphlet just describes the project or describes the bond and the projects that it would fund, and lets folks know that obviously there's a ballot forthcoming. There will also be an informational mailer on CCC's behalf. Again, just informational, not advocacy, because we're not allowed to do that by law. So if you've seen the FAQs, the little one sheets that many folks around the community are passing out, it's simply just a bigger version of that, and that will hit every mailbox in the county as well. So things are moving along. We're, I would say, still cautiously optimistic at how things are going. That voter information pamphlet will, part of what's in that pamphlet are the pro-con statements. We ended up with 26 pro statements and 0 con statements. So we were very happy that that was how things turned out. So essentially, all 26 statements will be in that pamphlet. And then when it gets to the section that says arguments against, it'll say none submitted. So we hope that that bodes well for some voters that are undecided and seeing that there was 26 pro statements filed and no con statements. Again, that doesn't really guarantee you anything other than the fact that there weren't folks that were actively engaged on campaigning against the passage of the bond. So that's basically where we stand as of today. The election is on November 4th, Tuesday, November 4th. We will be doing some sort of a watch party, community-wide watch party. I think we'll probably I know we'll have Lone Tree be one of the locations. We may even do one at 4th Street. We're still kind of discussing that. And then we'll wait to see the returns come in. And that's kind of where we are now. We're just still beating down the bushes. I just did a presentation yesterday. I think we're up to 32 or 33 community presentations. I presented to a group called 928 Central yesterday, which is a group of all the nonprofits throughout Flagstaff and Northern Arizona. And so that was it was very well received at that presentation. And that's kind of where we are. So essentially, what the presentation that we have provided, I know many of you have seen that presentation, but just so you're aware, basically we go through the who, what, wheres. We do have some of the renderings of how things could potentially look, but we've been very intentional about telling folks like, look, think of this as just a way to get your brain going of what things could look like. For the first year, assuming the bond passes in November, basically from late January through probably the end of the year, unless we get lucky and get done a little bit sooner. But basically those 9 to 12 months from January to October, November, December will all be design. So that'll be working with the architects that will actually build the plans for us, and then those would be handed to the builder or builders in probably early 2027. Again, I suppose there's a way that we could finish that up early, but we do want to take our time and get it right. And so that's basically that planning period is going to be from 9 to 12 months. And that's obviously where the involvement with the library board, the High Country Training Academy, all of our external partners, Boys and Girls Club, that's where we're really going to need input from all of those stakeholders, because as I've said before, the presentation that we're doing to the community is just very 50,000 foot. Here's what it could look like. Once we get in with the architects that are actually going to design the buildings, that's where you start talking about where bathrooms are going to be, where this space is going to be housed, this, that, and the other thing. So really just kind of biding our time and doing as many presentations as we can, hoping we get our yes votes out. That's really been the focus. That's the other thing that we're focused on, is we engaged with the same election consultant out of Phoenix that helped us with our successful tax reset, and essentially just copied that strategy. And the strategy is actually very simple. You engage your yeses and get them to the polls, and you don't worry about your no's, because you're not going to change their mind. So you're not going to waste time trying to change their mind. but you work on getting your yeses to the polls and take heart of the fact that if your yeses show up, you're likely going to win that vote. So that's kind of the way that we're approaching things here. There will be some targeted messaging from our political action committee for those that have not turned in ballots that they think are likely to vote yes. That was a strategy that they employed with the tax reset. But you're not going to see signs or anything like that, like yes on 490 or that it's Prop 490 is the proposition. It's really more of a engage your yeses, get the information out there, and don't turn this into a big billboard style campaign. So that's really where we are. Like I said, we got about 2.5 weeks till ballots start to hit. We'll still do some public presentations in October, but you'll see those dialed down quite a bit once the ballots start hitting the mailboxes, because really at that point, it really is in the voters' hands at that point in time. So happy to answer any questions, Mr. Chair, and happy to give you anything else that you need.
I have a question. All right, thank you. We have a couple of questions here, I think, Eric.
Hi, I'm not really familiar with the project, so I'm just wondering, is this a whole new, like, the existing building goes away and there's a whole new building that would include the library?
Correct. Yep. About a 60 to 70,000 square foot facility is what that would end up being at 4th Street.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I was slow at typing. Could you repeat that?
It's about right now between a 60 to 70,000 square foot building. So the old building would be raised. Obviously the current 4th Street would be raised and then built back up from there. And we have allocated 20,000 square feet for the library. So that would double their space in East Flagstaff.
So is there a time frame from like when you start to vacate the building and tear it down to where you'd be back in it?
I think it's a fairly optimistic time frame, but what we've been told by the builders we've engaged with was 2 years, 18 to 24 months. I think that's probably the time frame, assuming everything goes right. If you've ever been involved with a building project, I think that rarely happens. So I would say we're planning more on the 24-month side than the 18-month side.
Okay.
Are there any more questions from the group? All right, hearing none, Dr. Heiser, please know that if you need any support from this group, let us know.
Yeah, we would certainly, again, take any support that you all would want to give in getting out the vote and having folks support us. But we'll just continue to push forward and keep thinking good, positive thoughts for November 4th.
Can I ask a
Yeah.
question? So going forward, how is the library, because you said that it's like a 50,000 square foot, it's 50,000, view of the process at this point. How do you plan on involving the library in the decision of the design? Because we're the professionals that know what libraries need.
Yep. So absolutely. When we get to the design phase, that'll be part of that process that obviously both the library board and the county, because they are the library district, will be involved in that process. But the architects that we engage with will be, they're not going to be specific to one certain area. They're going to be focused on just, let's call it general building projects. And then if there is a need to engage some specialized folks that are not either on your board or with the county, then certainly we can look into that. But at the end of the day, we have to be as judicious as we can with the taxpayer money. So in engaging with 4 or 5 specialized architects for this, that, or the other thing is not, there's not money in the budget for that. We've been very upfront with the voters that this money is going to pay for construction. It's not going to pay for administrative costs. It's not going to pay for positions. It's going to pay for construction and get us the most bang for our buck.
So will the library staff or admin be involved in discussions with the architects that you hire?
Oh yeah. Yeah. We're not, the college has no interest in planning out a library without involving the library board. That's not That's not our expertise. So what I was saying is we're hopeful that because of the expertise that is on both this board and any that the county wishes to weigh in on, that we'll be able to, in working with the architects, get a design that everyone is comfortable with, and then be able to move forward without engaging a specialized architect who is focused on just one thing.
Dr. Heiser, can I clarify something for you? The East Side Library doesn't fall under the purview of the County Board of Supervisors. It falls under the City of Flagstaff. The Board of Supervisors helps fund a portion of the city libraries, but they are run by City of Flagstaff, not by the county.
Yeah, and I'm aware of that. The county, I think, has a different opinion, as that they are the district, the library district, which everything falls under. I'm aware that there's an MOU, but I think us leaving them out would not behoove us in this process. So I don't know that they're necessarily going to. I don't know how active they're going to be, but we had that discussion with the Board of Supervisors, or at least with the chair and excuse me, the chair and the co-chair, and was reminded that it is overall this library district as it was explained to us. So
It's a little more complex than that, and we have a couple county folks here, but I don't want to take everybody's time explaining that at this meeting, because I don't think that's really what you're here for. My only question for you is, has there been any more discussion on wanting to get the library up to paying commercial value rent for the space?
oh, you mean for the lease?
Yeah, because we're leasing, we're not getting a new building, we're leasing.
Yeah. I think there's been some discussion with the city on what we might do to either let's say supplement the lease payment or negate the need for a lease payment through the exchange of other property. But there hasn't been anything really further than that. The city has made clear that they would love to engage the possibility of making it so the library does not have to, or if there is a lease payment, that it be as low as possible and not based on market factors.
Thank you.
And I have one other question regarding the design. Is it going to be a 2-story or a one? It's going to be a 2-story or 1-story? Is there plans? Because a 2-story would obviously be much more expensive for the library to run because of staffing needs and elevator needs, et cetera, and maintenance.
Well, so I can guarantee you it's going to be 2 stories. That's the only way we can maximize our space. As the library would just be a tenant, the library isn't responsible for maintenance or elevators or anything like that. So it's not something that, now staffing certainly, that would be something that would have to be covered. But in terms of overall maintenance of the facility, the college is the owner of the facility. So it's our responsibility to make sure everything is functioning the way that it needs to be functioning.
I have a question. As far as the proposition goes, you said you weren't going to be putting billboards or anything, but have you considered putting anything out on social media? I know the library has a Facebook page. I don't ever see posts from it, but it could be used.
Yeah, I mean, on all the college's socials, there's been all of our information. Again, we have to be careful that we're only informing. We can't advocate. So the PAC does also have a website, and their website is, let's make sure I give that to you correctly. Yes490ccc.com. So that's all one word, yes490ccc.com. And that's where the advocacy, that's the group that is, obviously, because they are a political action committee, they are allowed to advocate for, asking people to vote for a certain way. But anything that you see that is paid for by the college, will simply just be informational.
Okay, thank you.
All right, any other questions? Okay, don't hear any
Thank you
more. Thank you for your time.
Yep, you bet. Have a good day. We'll see you guys.
Bye.
I have a question for you, Linda. Like, is it gonna be the city's responsibility to, I mean, what are you thinking, like the library will just close for that time or move to another spot or who's?
Yeah, we don't know what the plan would be for that, but we would need to come up with one. The other thing I can say is that as far as the maintenance of things, right now, under our current agreement, we are required to pay for all of the maintenance within the East Flag Library. So that would be a significant change if that's not an expectation moving forward. It'd be a very significant change.
Yeah, seems like it'd be a challenge to find a space to move to. You know, and then
Portable building and
even if
stick
you
in a parking lot.
even if you just close it, then you've got all the books and everything to.
Right, you still have to store things.
Yeah.
We have done some looking around at potential locations, and we took a field trip and came up with some ideas, but those are things that we can't really share, just because in prior instances, when the city was looking at properties or something, having that information get out before any actual negotiation took place
Gotcha.
could compromise
Right.
the city's position. So it's not that we're being secretive about it, it's just that we're supposed to kind of keep a lid on that,
Right.
is my understanding right now. But we have been looking because, we don't really know what the outcome of the election will be.
Right.
Or if that's gonna be the best path forward for the library.
So it's not like a slam dunk that the library would necessarily be in that building?
I think it's a little less than a slam dunk at this point, just because there are enough concerning things for us that if we're able to work with CCC and work through some of those, I think it could be a good potential solution.
Mhm.
That may not be the best path forward for the library, especially with the escalating rents.
But yeah, what I heard was that the city's asking for that, but I wasn't clear that he was saying that the college would respond favorably to the city's request.
Yeah.
For
Yeah, we don't know the answer to that. I didn't know if there had been more discussions on that or not, because I'm not always in those discussions with the city leadership. So, yeah, I didn't know if there had been more discussion on that or not. That's why I asked.
Can we maybe put an item on future agendas, just maybe a standing item for a while, that we just keep circling back to this to make sure that we're all kind of in the loop,
Absolutely.
if there's anything in there?
Yeah, it's gonna be big for
Yeah,
East Flagstaff, potentially.
Yeah, but even to understand, some of the concerns that you have and those kind of things, because I know there's things that we don't, at one of the last meetings, I know we discussed like the load bearing of the second story because of the books and those kind of things, but just to have some of the concerns brought up, so at least we understand them as a board.
And then I put some in the director's report in preparation for these meetings.
Good segue.
Speaking of the director's report. So, let's see, maybe I should start with the one for the meeting that we did not end up having, because there were a few things in there I wanted to highlight. Wanted to let you know that the total attendance of children at summer reading programs this summer was 1,196. So a very good number on that.
Not counting county.
Yeah, and I'm sure you probably don't remember all the photos from when we didn't have a reading last month, but we had some great times with these kids, and we do have a budding Elton John, I believe. One of those photos, which was what I loved so much about that photo. Sorry for the people online that you can't see that, but you should have this packet, because I think Amelia, you sent the packet.
Sent it yesterday, I think.
For last month also.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and last week it had all of them.
In terms of adult summer reading signups, we had 455, and that's a good number for adults. It's not quite as popular as the kids, but a lot of adults are participating as well. Other things that I wanted to bring up. So September has been library card sign up month, which I think we might have mentioned to you before. Last year we had punch cards where people could, check something out and then read an item and then get in a drawing to win prizes. This year we added another feature. Amelia and our PR librarian went around to local businesses and got some of them to sign up to provide some kind of a perk for library card holders. Cool. So in some cases it was, the gaming place gave us 25% off. If people showed their library card, they got 25% off the cost of admission. And then some restaurants gave 10 or 15% off or gave away a sticker. But anyway, they could flash their library card and get some kind of perk for being a library card holder.
Free cookie with purchase has been a very popular one. That a couple of them are.
Yeah, and so besides being an incentive to sign up for a library card, we were also pointing people to local businesses. So I thought that was a very nice partnership, and want to give a shout out to Amelia and Em because you worked very hard. You got 30 businesses, 30 plus businesses to participate in the first time we've ever done it. So that was awesome, and I think it speaks well of our local businesses that they were willing to jump in there and do something else. You might have to correct my numbers on this, but I have here that the Grand Canyon Community Library, their summer reading challenge drew 43 participants, and 23 of the kids completed the program.
Yeah.
That was the final?
46 actually was the final.
Okay, yeah, and so considering how small the population is up there and the fact that this is new to them, bringing the summer reading challenge back is, those were nice numbers.
Yeah,
Right there.
Amy's done fantastic.
Yeah.
The bookmobile had 53.
I didn't have that number in this particular report, but thank you. Thanks for sharing that. Also, since we last saw you, we sent three library staff members to the American Library Association conference. Two of them are sitting in this room, and Amelia and Tamaris, and they came back with just some great ideas and learned all kinds of things in Philadelphia.
Oh, nice.
So I think that was kind of fun for them to get to visit Philadelphia too. Let's see, now I'll move to the director's report for this month. One of the things I shared in this report is a patron comment card. I have a picture of it in the report because I thought it was a really great one. It says, "We were part of the summer reading event. We went to every event, exclamation point. My kids completed it. Now they can read in school with no problem, exclamation point, heart." So I just want to say that's such a goal of the summer reading is, to prevent that summer slide, and kids if they don't read during the summer, can lose some of that skill that they've developed or not be quite as adept as they have become. So loved that and wanted to share it with you all. And then under reference department held as a part of their adult programming a speed puzzling competition. So people actually competed to get a jigsaw puzzle completed, and believe it or not, people stayed and watched. And the fastest group, wow, the fastest group completed it in 59 minutes and 58 seconds. Wow. made it before the hour mark. And there was a lot of enthusiasm about it, and folks asked when the next one will be, so there are plans in place to do one at East Flagstaff. I would have really done poorly in that.
It's a 500, I like.
Was it 500?
500 piece, and I'm like,
I
that's
didn't
like
Wow.
top one, usually I'm at 300, I can't do. But
Then
then
when
they're
I
gonna, you see my started one, I had one that started, and every time my son comes now, he's like, Mom, are you ever gonna finish that puzzle? I'm like, quit worrying about my puzzle. And the nice thing is that we can take those puzzles then and share them to the, you know, they can do programs perhaps at the county library, so it'll do.
Yeah,
more
even the
than-
city is enjoying having puzzles, that's something they've
Yeah,
been doing a lot.
They have them out on their table. Yeah, the people, if they don't put a new one out as soon as one's finished, people will come in and say, where's the puzzle? Well, we have another puzzle.
So anybody coming in the library can work on
Can
it?
work on a puzzle. We have that here too still, don't we, over on this side, on that side of the building?
Pass the reference desk.
Yeah.
That's the way to do it, and then you don't have that person that keeps the piece in their pocket after the last piece situation.
I never heard of that. Oh.
Well, it didn't happen in your family? Okay.
No, oh, that's what I'm looking
Let's move on to our next, I just wanted to point out another thing that we received from Grand Canyon. The manager up there reported that several new community members used the library computers to apply for jobs and reported that they found work. So just one of the great things that we're able to really help people with, and I think that's a really important one. And it's also nice to get that feedback. We know that people come here and use the library computers in that way, or even just our Wi-Fi access, but we don't always hear back, so it's nice to hear that. When
That one person got a grant to go to school, did I read that too? The one person got, she
Oh, yeah,
used the
yeah.
computer and she applied for a grant and she's going to get her graduate degree
Yeah.
because of our computers in the library.
Yeah, that was another one of the things that was
I'm trying to
reported.
think of, I'm sorry.
That's okay. No, that's fine. I was just, since we had a couple of reports to go through, I reported on a few less things than usual.
Piecemeal.
Did anyone have questions about any of the things that were in the reports?
I have a question, but it's more a personal question. Pepe Meyer, I noticed his name in your thing that he was hired to work at the library. Do you know?
The reference
Is
desk,
that
the reference desk here.
He's the dad of my son's best friend for 20-something years.
Oh, yeah?
I gotta go say hi to him privately. Kid moved away, I can come back.
All right,
That's all I have unless there are further questions.
don't hear any. So now we have the library curriculum, curriculum, I went back to my regular day
You're at
job.
work, right?
Library District Consultant Report.
Switch over to sharing here, to a crossword puzzle contest.
That'd be
I think
amazing.
that'd be fun.
I like crosswords and they're kind of fun, stressful all the time. I use crosswords to de-stress, so I don't know that.
Yeah, you don't want
I
to turn it
actually do
into
too.
a pressure activity.
I had to do the easy ones, I'm sorry.
So we're glad to be able to come back to you now about the very done consultant study about the city, county library district structure. And you might have to forgive me, it's been a little while since I've looked at this. This is just the setup of it, I don't really need to read those to you. And this is the same presentation that the consultant gave to us and the
City and
city
county
and county leadership who started this. So the purpose of the project, of course, was to review our current structure, our funding distribution, look at what is working for our libraries, what might not be, develop any potential alternatives, and assess whether a different structure would help or would be preferable, and then analyze and make a recommendation. So his process included planning, data gathering, actually speaking to stakeholders. Of course, he came here, went to we spoke with all the affiliate libraries, branch libraries, conducted a financial and structural analysis, and then he developed scenarios and recommendations. This was the rough schedule, didn't finish till June, I think, but still pretty close.
Yeah, it took a little longer. The consultant was ill, but it was for reason.
Yeah. So I believe you've all seen this before, but this is our current structure with the orange libraries being the affiliate libraries, those who also have city funding. The blue libraries are our branch libraries. The black are our other libraries, which is the law library and Havasupai. And then the green, of course, is our shared services between IT and supports services, which is some work in CMS. So base allocation per the IGA, it's set at 4.21 million. Anything that's over and above that is distributed in growth funding, and that's calculated by a formula. That formula is 10% off the top goes to IT, 1% goes to each library, and then the remaining of the budget is split based on usage metrics. This was the fiscal year 23 breakdown. Tells you can see how much each library gets as well as the percentage of that funding. And if I'm going too fast or anyone has any questions, just stop me.
What is that, how do you come up with those numbers? What is the formula for what they get?
So the 4.21 million is based on what was originally set up in the very original IGA. So each library was given an amount, and then over the years, as we dispersed growth based on usage, then every time we did a new IGA, we'd set a new base, and then that would be, so whatever you had been getting based on your usage and library needs, that would be the base, and then any growth. So our last IGA that we set the growth in was 2019. So then all the funding from 2019 to 2024 in this case, the growth is then split out based on those usage stats, which of course I went too fast. Circulation numbers,
How
door
many items
count,
are checked out, is
Yeah.
circulation
I was
numbers?
wondering where
yeah,
the usage comes from.
programming, computer usage,
Visits, library
Yeah,
visits?
library
How many people
visits.
go through there?
and reference questions maybe is the other one.
Measurable
Yeah.
things.
And so then, so 10% goes to IT, 1% of whatever the growth is. So say we have 100,000, and 10,000 is going to IT. Every library is getting 1,000, and then whatever remains, 79,000 I think, is then split based on those usage stats.
Gotcha.
So then this distribution is the total of everyone's base plus their growth over the years. So when he sought stakeholder feedback, he wanted to know strengths, challenges, and priorities. What's working, what's not working, and what do we most want to see? So each of the libraries was very happy with our collaboration and the autonomy that they get by being a member of our county, but not having a central hub that makes the decisions for everybody so they can really customize for what their community needs, and happy with stable funding. Some of the challenges that were identified was misaligned budget cycles. For instance, city budgets are due on our end,
February,
February,
March-ish.
March,
Yeah.
and we don't go to the county till April to even really start the process. So that's been a challenge. We found that there was a higher administrative burden on Flagstaff. So the city, we have something called CAP, and now that's all my brain will tell me. Cost allocation,
Oh, the indirect costs.
something,
section.
yes, indirect costs that we pay back to the city for handling our payroll, HR, legal, those types of services. And Flagstaff Library was paying for that for all of the county libraries that we support as well. So that's this disproportionate administrative burden. And then also we don't really have a capital funding plan. So that was identified as a challenge. So priorities were to ensure equitable funding, improve coordination between the different governments, and more transparency and some form of capital investment if we can. So he also pulled together, so the original base that everyone got was in 1996, was when everyone's initial, here's how much you get for being part of the library district was determined. So this shows the growth from 96 to 2024 for each of the libraries. Some of the things like oversight allocation, digital services, district IT didn't exist in 96, so those ones don't show a growth amount. But this is the percentage side, and then here is that same information in dollars. So you might look at Fredonia and say, oh, they only have 104,000, but that's a 900% increase over what they had in 96 when they first joined the district. So that's why we've included both of those. I don't think I included this in your packet, so I will send this out. So my apologies for that. This is, so breaking those libraries down into affiliate, branch, and other. So again, affiliate are those who have a city that helps support them. Branches are supported by Flagstaff, and other is law and Havasupai. These are how their percentages of funding have increased from 2021 to 25, 26 through 28, and then 21 through 28. Of course, obviously, we're projecting out for those other numbers. So I spoke briefly about the administrative expenses on Flagstaff's side. So this is how much the city spends to run the library district between staff, IT, providing e-materials, and the city cost allocation is that indirect cost that I was talking about. And then the second part is how much the district budget covers of this 1.2 million. So the district budget covers 900,000, so there was a $315,000 shortfall that was basically coming from Flagstaff Library's budgets. And we were able to take that to the County Board of Supervisors this last budget cycle, and they were able to help us start to address that. So it's, they were able to fund a third of it, so that Flagstaff's not covering that full thing. So then he looked for peer comparisons, other counties that have similar size to us, potentially similar setup. Yavapai County ended up being the best fit for us to compare against. Not many cities and counties do their district the way we do, where the city acts as the fiscal agent for the county library district, but anyway, so Yavapai County, the county library does all staff and management of the branches. They have a centralized admin team. They do provide the county IT support, and they have uniform policies, services, and systems across all branches.
Is that,
Oh, sorry.
how
So
many do they have?
Yavapai? I'm not sure.
Oh, stars.
Yeah,
Are the stars,
Could be.
that's what I was
13.
wondering, is that the branches?
yeah. Yes, those are the library locations.
We still live.
Well, yeah, I'm counting 13, assuming there's none cut off in this top quarter.
So they just have one, they just have the county that directs everything instead of us having the county and the city?
Right, yeah.
Right,
And
well,
their libraries are also run, some of them, by city governments too, right? You
like
know more about
Prescott,
this than I
like
do.
Prescott Library. So the big difference between the Flagstaff model and the Yavapai County model is that Yavapai County decided to hire a separate county librarian and pay for the administrative costs of being the administrator of all of the libraries. Coconino County, on the other hand, decided to work with the city of Flagstaff, in essence, subcontracting with the city of Flagstaff, saying, hey, you've got a library director here, you've got this library set up with all of the staff with this knowledge, can we create a budget efficiency here by just working with Flagstaff instead of, coming up with our own county librarian that we pay all of the staff like IT and cataloging and all those functions and a building. So that's the big difference. But it was looked at and brought up with the affiliate libraries and branch libraries, everyone who participated in this, should we look at a model like Yavapai instead of what Flagstaff and Coconino County are doing? And pretty much the answer was, it's not perfect what we're doing, but we don't want that. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's fair.
Yeah, absolutely. So, like Linda was talking about, if we shifted to more of a Yavapai type thing, the county itself would need to expand staffing, Flagstaff would reduce its involvement with the branches, with the county in general, which could cause duplication and inefficiencies. The budget alignment could potentially be better, and that current model does work well in other areas. This is our current model, works well and is favored by our libraries. And centralization did have benefits, but would have disruption and a higher cost. So we also found that it might be in here as a slide, but if it is, I'll talk about it then, that there were savings by continuing to have Flagstaff operate as we are. So the consultant's recommendations were to keep our current structure because that is what people like and it works well, and then to focus on improvements in cost equity and communication. I believe, okay, yeah. So when we're talking about cost equity, so part of it is that 314,000 unfunded that the city is covering. So we adjusted, or we haven't yet. We're gonna look at adjusting the growth decline formula. That's that 10% to ITA, 1% to the libraries, and then the rest split to potentially help cover more of the city's role. And he also recommended that we have a set time frame where we review the set money, the base budget allocation to be sure that it's actually matching the needs of the libraries. And then we are phasing the cost recovery so that it's not a huge chunk of, well, suddenly we're gonna take 300,000 and give it to Flagstaff, and sorry that you were counting on more growth funds. So we obviously didn't want to do that. He recommended that we develop a capital planning and a budget. The capital plan, he recommended a 5-year planning cycle, and I believe he also recommended that for the base as well, to be adjusted every 5 years. He also said that we could look into bonding authority for
What does that mean?
major improvements. So there's a little bit of who can do a bond if someone out in the county wants a new library, like say Donny Park wanted a library. The city can't do a bond for that. So does that fall on the county? Does that fall on Donny Park community? Can the library district do a bond? It's a little unclear. So he just recommended that we get clarity on that type of thing. I don't think we're anywhere near that type of thing right now. The base has irregular updates, so formal 5-year process. See, I'm just skipping ahead. Use inflation and service demand data to guide increases. So another thing we discussed is some of our libraries are more, and actually this, I might be jumping, yep, I'm jumping ahead again. Some of our libraries are more specialized, like the law library or the jail library, where they're obviously, jail isn't gonna have programs. They're not gonna have door count, they're not gonna have computer use, because those things just aren't available. And we've done our best over the years to, okay, you don't have door count, but you do have a count of who was in the jail for the month. So that is your door count. So we've done our best to find metrics that can work for them, but there are some where you have 0 programs. So you get 0 in programming, and then that means they don't get as much funding as a library that's able to do programs. So he recommended that we look into weighted metrics based on the library's type, so that we can ensure that there's some parity between all those libraries. And then, of course, the other consideration with this was if you're looking at previous year's stats and Eastside has to be closed because they're rebuilding a building, then Eastside has no stats and their numbers are gonna go down, which means their funding is gonna go down, which means they have less money to do more things. So you don't wanna feed into that kind of a cycle either. So that was also what he kind of recommended we look into when we're looking at our metrics. He also recommended we form a city-county liaison team, which James is here with us today. He is part of that team, and Erica with the county as well. And we have been doing that and
And we have
just
Judy that comes
really,
to these meetings.
yeah, and Judy, of course, being part of these meetings, and it's really helped us to have this communication. He also recommended that we get some standardized onboarding for new library directors throughout the system. So because our system is so unique, so it can kind of help people understand what we offer, how we work, and just understand the different roles here. We also do not currently have a clear method for a new library to be able to join the district. So he recommended that we come up with a process for that as well. Yeah.
Oh,
Any questions? I know that was a lot. Again, my apologies for not sending this out ahead.
Any questions?
it's a lot of recommendations.
Yes, now the hard work starts.
Yeah, now you have to do something.
I mean, at least you're not changing the structure completely to the other versions, so you're just making this one better. Yeah, I like that.
And I can report that since the study and the conversations between the city and the county, we just are so excited to have greater participation from the county, and James, who's here today, has been to all of the libraries except 2 now. Am I right on that, James?
Yep, for another week anyway. We're going to hit the law library and the jail library next week. But yeah, it's been fantastic. I know Erica and I have learned a ton, and I think too the different branches and affiliates have also appreciated getting to kind of build that county partnership a little bit. So it's been fantastic from our end of things, I can definitely say.
All right. Anything further on that topic? Okay, so in your packet, if you happen to have it, for those of you online, if you scroll down, there's a proposed 2026 meeting schedule. I don't know, Amelia, if you want to put that on the screen,
Yeah.
maybe?
That's what it's just.
There we go.
So we do have a couple open ones that we didn't assign specific items to, because we wanted to give the board a chance to tell us what you'd like to hear about as far as the libraries go. Obviously, if CCC does get bond passed, then it's possible some of these will be taken up by that. But these are kind of some of our.
What about the One Damaris does for all the branches.
County branches.
Yeah, we missed that one, I think, last time.
Yeah, so
Yes,
she's
but
gonna
I'm gonna
present
do
in
it in November.
November.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I got it all ready for you.
We missed you,
Thank you.
but it's not on next year. I guess that's what I was getting at.
Oh, yeah.
Well, if they don't fill up and you want a new
Update,
update, I'm willing to do that.
okay.
I don't know if it's included in all, if it's included in the other reports. The library offers so many things that are kind of beyond books, like the cultural passes, the seed library, the, tool library, all of those things. I don't know how extensive that list is. That might be something to take a
Somebody
look
came
at.
in and talked to us about
The
that.
Library of Things.
Yeah, the Library of Things a couple months ago. Can't remember when it was. But that's a pretty fun one. I mean, it's really interesting. I mean, because they're always updating
Yeah.
what
So that
we
might
offer.
be one of those spaces. Any other ideas?
Are we gonna do should we put back on the calendar the tour of the back room? Because that was the only
Oh.
one here.
Okay, good one.
You're interested.
Go- go
I was
all
really
that.
sad I missed that one.
It was good, it was very
Yeah.
informative.
Yeah.
Mary's been she's done a public tour as well,
A couple times.
a couple times, and she's interested in doing more just to get people interested in the library and what's going on and understanding what kinds of services we actually offer.
Anything else from the group? Okay. If you come up with anything, let me or Amelia or somebody know and we can discuss it at the next meeting. All right. As a separate attachment in the email that Amelia sent out was the collection development policy. It looked like a red line policy, but I don't know who's gonna speak to that.
I don't know, just doing a lot of speaking today. So our collection development policy is what we use to outline what goes into our collection, our process for selections, our process for deselecting, also called weeding, and our guidelines for when we purchase books that patrons request, or if an author reaches out to us and says, I'd like you to have my book in the library. So this lays out what that philosophy is, why we have the collection we have, which is to serve general educational, recreational, and entertainment needs of the public, and how we go about making those decisions. So we just wanted to kind of clean it up a little bit, make a little more clarity on how the decisions are made, and also we technically had it in 3 places. There's a collection development policy, purchase policy, and the authors marketing their books, and that's all collection, let's put it into one policy.
And you put the updates from the new mission.
Yes,
I noticed.
yeah, updated the mission, and updated it to include things that, because we had a list of, our library has books and DVDs and, games and things. It's like, well, it also has board games, seeds, cultural passes, library of things. So kind of touched on some of that in there as well. And the purpose of this is both to help the public understand why we maybe don't purchase something they request or why we do, but also to give staff a guiding document. So they're not going, I'm not sure if I should get this or not. They can look at this and see, is it public demand and interest? Is it timely? Is the information accurate? Does it have professional reviews? Things like that.
Can I add something
Yes,
there?
please.
I think it's really important to us as librarians to serve the entire community. And so one thing that we do not do is follow our own feelings, our own belief. You know, we look at what the community does. So this document really does help us to choose fairly and not based on our own personal views and likes and dislikes.
We leave those at the door when we come to work.
Yes, we do.
It also helps us to make sure we're putting together a quality collection of materials.
Yes.
So we're not putting Billy Bob's fix it in if it's not, you know, a reliable source. We would like to have reliable sources for people and make sure we're carefully evaluating what's added to the collection.
Especially with so much self-publishing now.
Not that there's anything wrong with anyone named Billy Bob, so she's not. My husband's from Kentucky.
That's the name that popped in her head.
How often do you guys get requests from like local authors to?
We do sometimes.
Do you?
Yeah, and we really have to, in most cases, go back and look at the collection development policy and make sure, you know, has it had professional reviews? Make sure that we're looking at that through policy and not just adding everything.
Right.
So, I think we have to vote on this one. This is action item. All right, so if folks want to take a second to glance at that, or if you've already read it, I will entertain a motion on the collection development policy.
I move that we accept the collection development policy.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion out there? Awfully quiet. Okay, hearing none. All those in favor of adopting the collection development policy as moved, please say aye.
Aye.
And all those opposed? Okay, ayes carry, and that's adopted. Okay.
Yay.
We spent a lot of meetings on that.
It
Looked like it took a lot of.
does
lot
look
of
like it
It was long.
Any informational items or requests from board members? Okay, looks like future agenda items are the director's report and the Foundation and Friends update. And then our next meeting is on October 23rd, which seems like it's just around the corner.
Yeah.
All right, and with that, I will call the meeting as adjourned. Thank you all. We will see you in October. Have a safe month.
Thank you.
I know.
What happened this summer? It's just like,
Yeah.
yeah, this year's my
Sometimes a day I can't. Nice bright lights.